Hello, Lisa here. Oh, bumping the camera. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to this week's episode of Tarot by the Book. If you are new to Tarot by the Book, let me give you a quick rundown of how it works. This is a weekly series where I will randomly select a deck from my tarot deck collection, and I will give a 3-card week ahead reading for the collective for anybody who happens to be watching and engaging with this content. This reading is going to be for you, and my hope is that it's going to really resonate for all of you in whatever way is most important or most needed for you at this time. But what makes this so fun is that it lets me show you a deck in action, how it reads, how it works out when you actually, put it to the test and start doing readings with it. And then also it lets me show you different decks in my collection. And then I get to not only show how it reads intuitively, but then we get to dive into the guidebook together, read what the guidebook has to say about our 3 cards, and then kind of compare and contrast, and you get a chance to see how the deck reads intuitively, what the guidebook's like, and then you also get a chance to hear different perspectives on the cards, which is really great when you're learning the tarot, because the more perspectives you hear, the more little tidbits you'll pick up and the more it will inform your own readings, and I think that's really cool. So it's kind of like a deck in action review. It's also a opportunity to learn and get a reading. So it's kind of like, it just ticks all the boxes. I think it's super cool. So this week I'm actually going to be working with the Wild Unknown Tarot. This is actually a deck that I was so excited to receive and then work with for quite a bit of time. This is the mass market edition. And after getting another one of Kim Kranz's decks, the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit, I decided this wasn't for me anymore. I traded it away. And then recently a friend offered me an opportunity to get this deck back into my life, and I snapped it up because I realized I kind of missed having it. There was something about working with this deck that just really changed the way that I read the tarot. So this is primarily a sort of almost minimalist-ish kind of deck. There's this sketchy quality. It's very likely you've seen pictures of this deck around online or videos because it's been around for a while, and it really took the tarot community by storm. I realized, though, that my comfort level with more minimalist decks, my comfort level with pips, is very different than when I first traded this deck. And I just realized that it does offer something really, really special. And I love this Fool card especially. It does offer something really special, and it's very well thought out. It's very well done. And yeah, so this was originally an independent deck. This is the mass market deck. You can still get this. It is available. I will have a link to it down below if you're interested in scooping up a copy. But this is just, it's going to be fun. I'm actually really excited to diving back into this for today's Tarot by the Book. It's been a while since I've worked with this. So if you are interested in getting a week ahead reading, or even if you want to apply the 3-card reading to a situation in your life, then I invite you to settle into your seat or wherever you might be, get really comfortable, tune into your breath, and start to settle in and focus on what it is that you want this reading to cover for you. Either focus on the situation that's on your mind right now, like what you really want guidance about, or think about your week ahead and what you most need to hear. The 3 card positions that I'm going to be using is energy, advice, or excuse me, energy, obstacle, and advice. So the first card will be the energy of the week, or if you're thinking about a situation, your situation. The second card will be the obstacle, and the third card is some advice. Those are our card positions. That's the lens that I'm going to be looking at this reading through. And with that said, I'm going to shuffle a little bit longer, so keep focusing on your question, your situation, or your week. And then in a moment, I will cut the deck, draw our 3 cards, and we'll get started. Perfect. I'm going to cut and draw, and we're going to dive in. It's so funny when you're shuffling a deck and you sort of out of the corner of your eye or in your peripheral vision or whatever, however you want to say it, you keep spotting a card, and I kept spotting this one, which is so interesting. So we have the 3 of Cups for the energy of the week ahead. We have the Father of Swords for our obstacle, and the Fool as our advice. Isn't that funny? So I caught, this one caught my eye and this one caught my eye as I was shuffling and sort of talking through the deck. So I think that's really, really interesting. So I'm going to zoom us in just a little bit so you can more easily see the cards. And then I'll also be, well, maybe I'll just leave it where it is because I'm going to want to hold the card up. Okay, so let's dive in. First, let's talk about the energy of the week ahead. We have the Three of Cups. So the upcoming week is very much going to be about connection. And specifically this card, we have this idea, these three birds are hanging out on a tree branch. You get this idea of familiarity, as if this is a place they come to again and again and again. And so I would encourage you this week as you're thinking about the ways that you connect with people, the ways that you communicate, and the ways that you sort of socialize and reach out and get outside of your own personal bubble. Think about the ways you can do that are very comfortable, that you've done time and again throughout your life, the ways and the places that feel comforting for you. For example, if you really enjoy meeting friends outside and that's something you've always done, then that's what you should focus on this week. So I wouldn't say necessarily that the energy is to go somewhere new with friends or do something new and different. This is very much an energy of comfort and of familiarity, an energy of letting go of those barriers and those external constructs that can become almost an outside source of pressure, like, oh, we've done that 3 times, we shouldn't do that this time. Try to let all of that stuff go this week and instead lean into authentic connection that feels familiar, connection that feels comforting. And that familiar energy that's coming through intuitively very strongly with this card for us today, I think is also a gentle reminder to allow your interactions to feel very natural and authentic this week. So that familiar energy tells me you're probably going to want to be connecting with people that you feel very comfortable with, that where you feel like you can let your guard down and be yourself. If perhaps you get invited to do something or to connect with a group of people where you're not as comfortable, this may not be the best week for that. This may be the week to really lean into sort of comfort zone, sort of social connections. And that's what's really coming through for us for this upcoming week. When we're looking at the obstacle, we have the Father of Swords, and we want to think about this card as if it were reversed, because the position itself is a shadowy position, and the Father of Swords, he is the King of Swords, and the King of Swords is a very sort of analytical planner, somebody who likes to see things go in a particular way, who's very sort of, can be a little bit on the rigid side, can be a little bit on the overthinking things side, particularly when we're looking at this in shadow, can be a little bit of the like rigidity, my way, the highway kind of energy. So when we're looking at this as an obstacle, we do want to look at this court card in its shadow. And so this week, the thing that might get in your way, whether this is your energy or the energy of somebody close to you, is that energy of rigidity, of things need to go according to plan, of perhaps even over planning and over strategizing. So the ways that can really bog us down in heaviness. So, I mean, thinking about the way that this energy can show up in that way, I really want to advise you to be aware of where that rigidity comes into play, where that tendency to perhaps micromanage or over control situations also comes into play, whether that's, again, from yourself or from somebody close to you. This energy of familiarity tells us that what we really need this week is to feel comfortable, to feel secure, to feel like we can connect in healthy ways and in familiar ways with people. And this energy, this over-planning, kind of micromanaging energy, can really interrupt the healthy flow of good communication. And I have a feeling that a lot of us are going to be relying on, it's funny because I'm thinking of phone conversations a lot with this card. So that may be one of the ways that we sort of go old school a little bit this week with communication, is we might be having more voice-only conversation, which is interesting because I know a lot of us have really leaned heavily into things like video chats and video conferencing when we're meeting or talking to people over a long distance. But I have a feeling we might have some interesting like phone conversations for some of you this week. Anyway, that was just a little bit of a distraction there. But again, the Father of Swords, beware this week of that sort of over-controlling or over-rigid energy for sure. And interestingly, I think that ties us really beautifully into the advice of the week, which is the Fool. And the Fool is very much about being open-minded and having that beginner's mind, letting go of expectation and instead just sort of going for it. And the thing is that when we're able to settle into sort of this comfortable place with familiarity and comfort zone, which this card kind of is calling us to do, and if we can avoid that rigidity and that hyperstructure, then actually sometimes these really wonderful sort of beginning moments or fresh opportunities sort of come our way, things that we would have never spotted if we weren't already feeling fairly secure, enough security that we were feeling that we could let go of some of that over planning. And you may find that there's some interesting new little breakthroughs for yourself this week. There may be some interesting things where the road just suddenly clears in front of you in a way that you weren't expecting. And you can actually take advantage of that opportunity in a different way because you're feeling calm, you're feeling connected, and you're feeling secure enough to not overplan or overthink. So that is what came through for our intuitive reading. I think in general, this week is going to be about staying comfortable, taking care of your basic needs. Beware of the tendency to want to overthink or overanalyze situations or overcontrol them. And then really be open to those little sunshiny, joy-filled moments, those little breakthroughs, those little opportunities to let loose a little bit, and just be aware that those are going to come through. And if you're in the right headspace when they do, they could be really beautiful moments for you. So that is our intuitive reading. Let's take a look at the guidebook. Boop. Now, I haven't looked at the Wild Unknown Tarot Guidebook in some time. If I recall, it wasn't always the most helpful guidebook ever, but I could be remembering that wrong. It has been quite some time, so I'm just going to move these cards up a little bit so that we can get into the guidebook. And let's see what it has to say about our Three of Cups. Friendship, joy, and bounty. The Three of Cups is a lovely card. It foresees you in the company of amazing friends, creating memories together that you'll forever hold dear. These are not any old friends. They are people with whom you feel a rare connection. Oh, with them you feel truly yourself. Enjoy each minute of their company. This card can also indicate an upcoming celebration. Love abounds. This piece here about they're the people that you can feel like yourself with. That's what I was saying when I said there's this familiar energy. That's what I was getting from that card. So that's kind of a cool thing that my intuition had and the book had in common. So that's kind of neat. Let's take a look at the Father of Swords. Oh, the mages are in the back. I don't remember that. All right, so let's take a look at the, oh, these are wands. Where's swords? Cups. Here we go. Son of Swords, Mother of Swords, Father of Swords. Fair and analytical. So remember, this is in shadow and there's no like upright reverse meaning. So we're going to still apply this book meaning in a more shadowy way. Like all the Swords family, the father has a gift for perception. He has a distinct ability to remove himself emotionally from a situation so that he can truly see it from all angles. He is therefore respected by others, who usually describe him as fair or just. He is a responsible man with deep ties to his family. So I think that can also be true. I think we can have somebody who's very responsible, who's generally looked up to, but who can still, when things get a little dicey or they're maybe feeling stressed, can go into that over-analytical or over-controlling kind of place. So I think that still supports the reading, especially when we consider that there is no like reversed meaning for this card in the guidebook. But if we see him as fair and analytical in the upright, and we think about how that energy could be not so positive or shadowed, then seeing him as being a little bit over-controlling, aka not so fair, and overthinking, aka over-analytical, that to me just makes sense. So I think that really, really works. So yes, that is this week's Tarot by the Book. I'm really excited to actually hear your feedback below. I found that the messages came through really easily with this deck, and I wasn't sure they were going to because, again, this was a deck that I had at one point traded out of my collection. I'm really glad to have it back, and I'm glad to see that the cards that I was sort of noticing as I was shuffling were the ones that came to the top. That's one of those things that I feel like when it happens, it feels like sort of a universal pat on the back that you're in the right place, you're doing the right thing at the right time, the right messages are coming through, and I really appreciate that. So that was really, really exciting. And thank you again to my friend Erica for sending me this deck so I could have it back in my collection because I did miss it, and I don't know if it's a deck I would have repurchased. So getting it as a gift like that was just really, really nice. So thank you so much, Erica, if you happen to watch this video. And thank you so much to you guys for watching and participating in Tarot by the Book. I really enjoy doing these. I will see you all in the next one. Bye!